Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10 and support the channel at the same time. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to the second official day of Guilds of Ravnica previews. There's a lot happening, a lot to talk about. Guild gates are coming back. We'll look at those a little bit later in the video. And I want to get started relatively quick. So first, just real fast, I want to say if you're looking for a way to support what we do here at the channel, just check out the description below. You'll find a few ways. Our Patreon page is linked down there. You're also going to find links to products on Amazon if you make any purchases on Amazon. Once you go through that first link, we'll get a small percentage. Finally, Flipside Gaming still offering a promo code for our viewers. Hopefully you can save a little cash while you support the channel. And as always, thank you not only to the folks that look at those links, but to all of you viewers out there. Y'all make the channel what it is. Thank you so much. And let's get into today's cards. Chemist's Insight. Blue and 3, instant, uncommon, draw 2 cards, jumpstart. Very simple, and yeah, actually very good card. This is going to be a great draw spell, even in standard, because it's at instant speed. 4, I mean, you first look at that and you figure, okay, it's a tad expensive maybe, but when you think about what you're getting for it, this is going to replace itself and draw you another card, and then the ability to do it again later. This is actually pretty phenomenal, and it's all at instant speed. That's the key, at instant speed. Control decks will definitely want to play this. In Limited, this will be a great draw spell for you there too. Guild Summits. Alright, I mentioned Guild Gates are coming back. This is also a Story Spotlight card, but they did give us cards in this set, it appears, that are going to play well with those Guild Gates, so that way you can go down a Guild Gate draft plan if you need to. Could be fun some of the time. This costs a blue and 2. It's an enchantment uncommon. When this enters the battlefield, you may tap any number of untapped gates you control. Draw a card for each gate tapped this way. Whenever a gate enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So this is one of those cards that if I'm all in on this whole Guild Gate draft plan, then this could be fine for me. If I'm not, I'm probably not touching this. If I have like 2 Guild Gates in my deck, then yeah, this isn't going to do so much. It doesn't do anything on its own. It's completely reliant on Guild Gates to do anything at all. If you have a lot of them though, maybe like 6 or something in your deck, then I'm thinking maybe I can make room for this card if I don't have any more consistent draw spells in my pool. Outside of that scenario, I don't see this getting a lot of play. Standard, I don't really feel like we're going to see a Guild Gate deck, although we did in Standard when Dragon's Maze came out. So you never know, I suppose. But I don't really see the consistency being there for Standard. Commander, there are people that play with Guild Gate decks. They're not necessarily super competitive. Usually they're just kind of fun decks, but now they're getting new toys to play with, so who knows what's going to happen in the future. I could see this card showing up in those decks. But other than that, it's not going to see a whole lot of play. Alright, this next card comes to us from an Italian language preview, and so we actually have a few of those today. Loosely translated, this is Night Val Sprite. Blue and 1, Fairy Rogue, uncommon, flying 1/2. When this attacks, Serval 1. First off, I thought it was interesting that it's a fairy, so I always like to see support for some of the tribes like fairy that don't show up all the time, so I thought that was pretty nice. Aside from that, though, the card itself isn't all that amazing. I do like Serval a lot, and in Limited, I can see myself at times playing this just simply because I'm looking for more ways to Serval that are in my pool. But a lot of times I may just have better cards, and this could get pushed out, especially in Draft. Maybe I play this a little more frequently in Sealed. Even if I attack in and just crash into a larger creature in Sealed, Servaling once might not be the worst thing in the world. Lets me dig deeper into my deck to find what I need to find, or populate my graveyard. Maybe that will be something I'm trying to do in my particular strategy. So, yeah, it's alright. You're not always going to play it, but it's just fine in Limited. Secrets of the Mausoleum, another Italian language preview. Black and 1, instant, undergrowth. Search your library for a black card with converted mana cost equal to or less than the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Reveal it and add it to your hand, then shuffle your library. Wow, okay. So this one's a rare, and it definitely feels rare. It's a tutor that doesn't exile itself. Now, it is conditional. I mean, you can only pull a black card, but notice it's any black card, not creature, so you can get all sorts of different spells with this, which is nice. And you do have to refer to your graveyard as far as what you can actually pull out, depending on how many creatures you have in there. Couple interesting things to note, though. You can just pull Slaughter Pack out of your deck if you don't have any creatures. That's kind of cool, right? If you have one creature, there's a lot of great targets for this. There's Thoughtseize, there's Fatal Push. You can probably list things all day, actually. There's some really powerful, low-cost black spells, which means that not only is this a pretty interesting tutor, but it might get even better in the formats where you tend to go low curve anyway. Modern, perhaps, but definitely Legacy and Vintage. So what about Standard? Do you play it there? Yeah, I think you end up playing it there too, because this is very good. Tutors are strong. Even when they try to make them conditional like this is going to be a good card. This will see play in a number of different decks in Standard during its time in the format. And like I just said, I do think this could see play in some places in some of those Eternal formats in Modern too. Commander, it will be good there as well, even though a lot of times the things you want to search up there might be a little higher cost. But still, a lot of your removal spells will be cheap enough that I don't think you'll care. Tutors are always good. So this is going to be awesome. What about Limited? Yeah, play it there too, because definitely with Golgari and Dimir, where you're going to be encouraged to get stuff in your graveyard. Surveil could help you with that, for example, if you're into Dimir colors. Then, yeah, this is going to turn on pretty quick, and you're going to be able to tutor for something that's hopefully very relevant at some point during the game. So, yes, this one is really, really strong. Keep an eye on it. Whispering Spy, another Italian language preview. This one's an uncommon black and 1 vampire rogue, this time 1/3. Whenever you surveil for the first time each turn, this will deal 1 damage to each opponent, and you gain 1 life. So it is each opponent for multiplayer purposes, that's worth noting, but this card's not really doing a whole lot of amazing things. Here's where I'm going to play this, though. If I have a lot of Surveil cards in my deck in Limited, this does feel a little bit better. So yeah, this isn't the worst thing in the world. I can see myself maybe running it if I don't have anything better. Now, a 1/3 for 2, sometimes that is good against some aggressive builds, like maybe a Boros build. So if I don't have it in my main deck, and then game 1 I get ripped apart in the first few turns by some small creatures, then, of course, yes, side it in. It could be a decent blocker to gum up the ground and slow things down a little bit, even if you're not main decking it to begin with. Other than that, not too much more to say about it. Goblin Crater Maker, red and 1 Goblin Warrior, uncommon 2/2, pay 1 and sacrifice this, and you get to choose 1. It will deal 2 damage to target creature or destroy target colorless non-land permanent. Wow, okay. Let's talk Limited first. This is a great bear with upside. It reminds me a little bit of a Braid. Obviously, it does play differently, but I do think if you like to Braid, you're going to like this card. And it's going to deal with some problems that will come up in the Limited game. It can deal with some 2 toughness creatures or the occasional colorless non-land permanent that you might need to get rid of. So all that on a 2/2 body for 2, sign me up. It's also a Goblin. We don't know yet. Will that be relevant? We'll see. It's also a Warrior. Maybe that'll be relevant. Now, aside from that, what about Standard? Does it see play like a Braid used to? Maybe not quite like a Braid used to, but I do think it does see play because it deals with some pretty big threats that are out there. One being Karn, Scion of Urza, and I'm sure that's why this card exists. As we were about to rotate, we know that Karn probably would have got better just simply because the field was getting narrower as far as cards you can choose. So why not put in another answer? And this is actually a very powerful answer to Karn. So I do think that's a good idea. Wizards got to step ahead of things there. But there's also other targets. Sorcerer's Spyglass is another one that comes to mind. So there's plenty of reasons to play this. Now, I mentioned yesterday, maybe they'll give us enough goblins for a goblin deck. Don't know if that's really going to be the case. If it is, wonderful. Just throw this in your goblin deck and you actually have extra utility built in. But if that's not the case, you can just throw this in any red deck. Maybe it's out of the sideboard, but it's going to deal with some big problems that could come up. So I do like that. It definitely sees Standard play, I have no doubt. What about some other formats? Well, Commander, it's going to be good there, obviously. Destroy target colorless non-land permanent. It's going to be fantastic in that format. Modern? Yeah, maybe. I would say Tron is definitely going to not like seeing this card. However, there's a lot of cards that host Tron. We've seen a lot recently. Do we need this one? Maybe not every deck does, but if I'm already in the Goblin deck or something, then why not make this my answer to Tron and just keep everything very consolidated? I could even maybe main deck this and try it out there. What about Legacy? This does deal with Emrakul and Show and Tell, Omnitel decks. Again, if I'm already in the Goblin build, then what's the harm, right? That could be one way to look at this. So overall here, I think we have another card that could see play in a number of formats. Runaway Steamkin, a red and 1 elemental rare 1/1. Whenever you cast a red spell, notice that's red spell, not instant or sorcery. If Runaway Steamkin has fewer than 3 +1/+1 counters on it, put a +1/+1 counter on this. Remove 3 +1/+1 counters and you get 3 red mana to your mana pool. Okay, this actually is kind of interesting. I really like the design here. That you kind of build it up over time. Red spells are going to make it larger. It maxes out at 4, basically as a 4/4, with just 3 counters on it, plus the 1/1. So it doesn't get like super big, but big enough, definitely if you're in a more aggressive build. But you just need to make sure you have the red spells to come in behind it, and that could get awkward, especially if this is a late draw. Now, the other thing that's a little weird, that ability of getting the extra red mana isn't necessarily what like a standard aggro deck would need or want. They would rather have maybe like card draw or something like that. If it had card draw tacked on, this card would probably be really, really good in that capacity. So does it see standard play? I'd at least want to test it out. I don't know if it gets there. I would just want to make sure that my red deck, and it has to probably be a mono red deck for me to really feel confident that I'd be able to put this out quickly and then build it up really fast so that I have like a 3/3 or 4/4 relatively quickly. If not, it's probably not worth your time. And again, if it had something else, like the card draw ability instead of the mana ability, or if it had like haste or something like that, I'd be a little more interested in this one, but I at least want to try it out if nothing else. In limited, this could be fine for you too, as long as you have enough red in your deck. Obviously, if you're splashing red, you might want to skip this. But if you're like in a 2-color deck and half of it's red, this could be quite good. Beast Whisper. 2 green and 2. It's an elf druid rare 2/3. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. Okay, wow. Alright, so limited, you know you're going to play with a lot of creatures, especially if you're in green, so play this card. You're going to love it. The fact that it gives you the 2/3 body, this isn't just like some enchantment sitting there, is pretty awesome, actually. Makes me really want to pick this up in a limited draft, probably first pickable in a lot of packs, as a matter of fact. It's also an elf. Who knows? Maybe that will be relevant at some point. So what about standard? Do you play it there? I'd at least want to try it out in some of these green decks. And the reason I say that is because the 2/3 for 4, not exciting. And the draw card is contingent on you now playing more creatures. And I don't know, maybe this doesn't live long enough for that to happen some of the time. But here's what I like about it. If I'm in that stompy deck and it's like turn 7 or 8 and I draw the Llanowar Elf, well, now the Llanowar Elf will replace itself as long as this is on the battlefield. And that feels a lot better than getting kind of a dead draw later on. So I do like it for that. And again, I think it's just worth trying out. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but it has potential anyway. Outside of there, Commander is another place. As long as you have a lot of creatures, your Commander, most of the time is a creature, sometimes it's a Planeswalker. But whenever a new creature comes in for you, drawing a card, never a bad thing, especially in an elf build, perhaps. This could be quite good there. So I think it's a little expensive for Modern, unfortunately, but I don't know. Would you want to test like a Cheerios deck with this? Maybe that's jank. I don't know, but you never know till you try. Could be fun. District Guide. This is very similar to Civic Wayfinder. Pretty interesting. A green and 2, Elf Scout, uncommon 2/2. When this enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card or gate card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. I kind of wonder if we're going to see any flicker effects in this set. There's so many enters the battlefield effects. So Civic Wayfinder was a great card in limited. This will be a great card in limited. Even better because you can also grab a guild gate. This is perfect for this type of limited environment where you might have to go 3 colors. You might even have to dabble into a 4th color from time to time. Or if you're in the gate plan and you have all 5 colors going on, you might need something like this to smooth things out. So this is a very fine uncommon to pick up. It doesn't necessarily ramp you out, but it does make sure you hit your land drops, and that's a very good thing. Also gives you 2/2 body. Definitely for 3 mana, it's worth it. Standard, maybe. There could be a deck that's trying to get greedy with colors, and we don't have the next 5 shocks yet, so they might need to do something else. This is an option. That might be a stretch, but it's possible. Nullhide Ferox. This costs 2 green and 2. It's a mythic rare beast, 6/6 with hexproof. You can't cast non-creature spells, but you can pay 2, or actually anybody can pay 2, and if they do, this loses all abilities till end of turn. If a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard this, put it onto the battlefield instead of putting it into your graveyard. Wow, okay, so this is a tough one. I glance at it and I say, okay, a 6/6 for 4, that's pretty good. Hexproof, that's pretty good. Doesn't have trample, doesn't have evasion. Okay, that's a strike against it. And my opponent can turn off the hexproof. Okay, there's another strike against it. I can't cast non-creature spells. Okay, that might get awkward if I'm playing standard especially and I need a removal spell or something. But I can turn it off, so okay, that's a little better. So is this good or not? I don't know. This is a really weird one. I think it has potential just because you have ramp out there, like Llanowar Elves. If you can play this on like turn 3 or something, then it's probably pretty decent getting a 6/6 hexproof that early in the game your opponent might have trouble turning off the hexproof and using the removal spell at the same time. And it does box you in a little bit to not be able to play anything but creature spells as long as you want to protect this, at least for the time being. But eventually, as the game goes on, your opponent will be able to deal with this, no doubt. Is it too late at that point because they just got beat down too many times by the 6/6? Well, that's the question. A lot of aggressive decks will probably be out there early on in the meta. They will be able to put down blockers, and very quickly they'll probably be able to navigate around that hexproof. So, I don't know. I just feel like I want to test it and try it, see how it plays. But when you're talking 4 mana, the card better be really good because there's some great 4 mana creatures out there. There's some good 5 and 6 drops too, in green especially, that can come out really quick thanks to Llanowar Elves and other ramps. So, yeah, I don't know if the deck needs this. It's a little too inconsistent, I think, but I'd at least want to give it a try. Outside of that, though, limited, yeah, play this. It's going to be awesome for you, even though there's ways to deal with it, obviously. It's not truly a hexproof creature, but for 4 mana getting a 6/6, you're going to be real happy with it in draft or sealed, definitely. Artful Takedown. I like the name of that. Black, blue, 2, instant, common. Choose one or both. Tap target creature gets -2/-4 till end of turn. I like this a lot because it's a removal spell in limited. It actually is going to be quite good because not only is it a defensive removal spell, but it also can help you go on the offense. Take out a creature, tap something down, attack him with all your stuff. Would be good in either situation if you're ahead or behind. I like cards like that. I'd be happy to pick this actually relatively high in a draft pack, as a matter of fact, even though it's a common. I feel like this could be really good. Deafening Clarion. White, red, 1, sorcery, rare. Again, choose one or both. This will deal 3 damage to each creature and or creatures you control gain lifelink until end of turn. For 3 mana, that's actually pretty sweet. It's kind of funny because together they feel like they don't complement each other all that well. But if you can blow up a bunch of stuff and then give your things lifelink that are larger, maybe with evasion, you can attack in and gain some life. That's actually pretty sweet. Or there's times where you're not going to blow things up because you have the smaller creatures, but the lifelink might matter. Or you're just behind and you need to blow things up. So there's a lot of versatility here, and it only costs 3, granted 2 different colors. I think this actually does see standard play because of the versatility and everything you're getting here for just 3 mana. Feels like it's pretty economical, as a matter of fact, especially if you need to deal with some smaller creature strategies, which could be happening with Selesnya and Convoke coming, and also, of course, aggro decks have been good. Things like Chain Whirler, this hits Chain Whirler. So I do think this is something that you will see show up, even if it is out of sideboard some of the time. In limited, yeah, play this. You're going to be really, really happy with it. It's a nice panic button, but it also could help you when you're on the offensive too. Ionize. Red, blue, and 1, it's an instant rare counter target spell, and it will deal 2 damage to that spell's controller. So surface value, I don't know if I like this one as much as the 3 casting cost counter spell that lets you surveil that we saw last week. But you know what, if I'm in some sort of is it like burn/control build, which maybe will happen depending on the cards we get in this set, then yeah, it could see some standard play. I think at some point, yes, it does see standard play in its lifetime in standard. I have no doubt, as a matter of fact. But I do think sometimes you'll have better options when it comes to just straight out counterspells. Here's another Italian language preview. It's Reign of Notions. A black, a blue, and 1 sorcery, surveil 2. You draw 2 cards. Reign of Notions deals 2 damage to you. This is a common. So basically, this is kind of like Read the Bones. It's a little different, obviously. You surveil instead of scry. I do think surveil could be a little bit better, though, under some circumstances. And there's a blue in the casting cost, but other than that, this feels a lot like Read the Bones. And that's a good limited card whenever it shows up in a set. And guess what? Whenever it shows up, it usually sees standard play, too. I think the same thing's going to happen with this card. It will see standard play. It's going to be great for you in limited. All right, I mentioned the guild gates were coming back. Boros Guild Gates, and 2 pieces of art. We're going to talk about that a little bit. The one on the left that you're going to see for each of these will be the main guild gate, and on the right you're going to see the backdoor secret guild gate. Now these are on 2 uniquely numbered cards, so that will mean they will show up in greater frequency in packs for draft or sealed, so that's kind of cool. I was speculating that we would see perhaps these take the basic land spots, and because we haven't really seen basic lands in the number crunch for the main set, I kind of still think that's going to be the case. They haven't made that official yet, though. And I think it would be really cool if every once in a while you opened a pack and got a shock land in the land spots, and I don't know what the ratio would have to be for that to actually stay as a rare card, considering those are rares. But whatever it is, I think that would be kind of cool. So, I don't know. But let's talk about these guild gates, of course, starting with Boros Guild Gate. These are great and limited. They're going to help you maybe go 3 colors if you need to splash, or even 4 colors potentially. You could just draft these up and go with the Guild Gate strategy like we saw with some of the other cards that would complement that. Or you could just simply play these in your 2-color deck. If they're on color, they're going to help smooth things out there too. So overall, these are going to be great and limited. You don't necessarily want to underappreciate them in a draft. You want to make sure that if you're in the colors, the necessary colors, sometimes you might have to pass a good card to grab one of these for your consistency. So keep that in mind when it comes to a Ravnica set especially. What about standard? Yeah, comes into play tap lands. They do occasionally see some standard play. Obviously, you're going to try to avoid that. Try to play a shock land. Try to play a check land if you can. But for some reason, if your deck is really greedy on color, these will creep into standard here or there. Sometimes like a 1 or 2 of in a deck. But obviously, brewers will try to avoid these if they can in standard. So let's take a look at the rest. We have Dimir Guild Gates. Selesnya Guild Gates, Is it Guild Gates? And Golgari Guild Gates. And here's another card, Gateway Plaza. Also counts as a gate. It's a land, common. This will enter the battlefield tapped as well. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you pay 1. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. So it counts as a gate if you're going to play with the cards that are looking for gates or care about gates. So that's kind of cool. And on top of that, it also fixes color. So either example, definitely a good pickup in Draft or Sealed. And aside from that, again, I mentioned Commander earlier. It's another gate for players that like to play with that strategy. All right, with that being said, those are the cards for today. We're going to be back tomorrow recapping everything that happens in the next 24 hours. So join us then, but until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.